Well, good morning to you. I hope you are all well. One of the nicest things about being asked to do some Bible reflections is that you get to choose some of the favourite passages from the Bible. Those passages which mean a lot to you personally, or which have spoken to you in some way at various times in your life. And this week I've got the pleasure of sharing with you two of my favourite passages. I shall share one passage with you today, and I shall share another passage with you tomorrow. And the one I'm choosing today comes from the book of Genesis, and it's from the 28th chapter of Genesis. I'm just rushing to find it for you. Let me read it to you, and then we can reflect briefly upon it. It's a well-known passage. I'm sure you'll recognise it when I read it to you. Genesis 28, beginning to read at verse 10. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And there above it stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. He was afraid, and he said, how awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, the reading is, of course, about Jacob's dream, a dream in which he sees a ladder or a stairway reaching from earth to heaven. Let me give you some of the background. You see, Jacob is on a journey from Beersheba to Haran, some 400 miles to the north, and it isn't a pleasure trip for Jacob. He's actually running away from a family breakdown. He's fleeing the wrath of his brother Esau, who has threatened to kill him for cheating him of his birthright as the grandson of Abraham and the eldest son of Isaac. Jacob is fleeing to his mother's family in Haran to find safety. But he's at a low point when he decides to rest for the night. And as he sleeps, he dreams, and he dreams of this ladder or the stairway stretching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending on it, and God standing at its head. And he hears God speaking directly to him, giving him an assurance that he will remain with him, he will be with him, and will fulfill the covenant that he first made with Abraham. So why do I like this passage? Well, I think there are basically three reasons. The first reason is this, that it just reminds me that there is always a link, a connection between earth and heaven, if we have a heart and a mind to see it. They're not two spheres unconnected in time and space, but they're interconnected, parts of one creation. We might not always see or acknowledge the direct connection that we have with heaven, But it often takes a particular state of mind to allow God to break through our outer shields. For Jacob, it was a state of weariness, state of fear, state of insecurity. And for us, it might be the same, or perhaps after a period of illness, period of loneliness, period of heartbreak. But God wants to break through to us, and persistently he keeps trying to do so, to reassure us, like he reassured Jacob, that he is always there for us. So, when we feel far from everyone, and when we sometimes feel far from God, he is there. He is still there for us. He doesn't want us to be alone. He always wants us to take him with us as we take the next steps forward. I found that personally reassuring. And secondly, the passage reminds me that the communication between heaven and between earth, between God and us, and indeed between any two individuals, needs to be two-way. You see, on that stairway, on that ladder, the angels were both ascending and they were descending. They were moving in both directions. And there's that direct connection, isn't there? We can speak to God directly. There's no need for an intermediary. But we also need to still ourselves, to hear and to listen as God speaks to us. We need to be still and know that he is Lord. And the third reason why this passage is a particular favourite of mine is that it reminds me how special, how sacred particular places can be. You see, at Bethel, Jacob experienced the holiness of God's presence. The Lord is in this place, he said. It's the place where God broke through to him in a deeply personal way and spoke to him words of reassurance. For Jacob, Bethel was that meeting point between heaven and earth. It was a truly awesome place. Let's hear how Jacob described that place again. He said this: "How awesome is this place! This is no other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." You see, at Bethel, Jacob was changed, and he left that place as a changed man. He went forward with a new understanding of himself and of God's purpose for his life. It was where matters were clarified for him, where he had the assurances that God would be with him. Bethel for Jacob was truly a place of blessing. And my question this morning really is, well, where is our Bethel? Where is the place where we feel ourselves to be spiritually uplifted and affirmed? Where do we most often and most meaningfully find ourselves in the presence of God? Maybe it's as we sit alone in our favourite chair in the living room. Maybe it's a seat in the garden. Maybe it's as we tat in the greenhouse. Maybe it's a special spot in the park. Who knows? Maybe it's even inside a church or inside a cathedral, maybe. Such places allow us to be intimate with God and allow him to reveal something of himself to us. They allow us to talk with God, and they are places that stimulate us, they encourage us to pray and to worship. So, where is our Bethel? And where and how often do we take ourselves to that place? The poet John Betjeman had a passion for railway stations, and he also had a passion for churches. And one day a rather curious interviewer asked him if there was any connection between these two passions of his. And Betjeman replied, he said this: "Oh yes, there is a connection. You see, they are both points of departure. They both have the potential to be places which people begin a new journey. Just as Jacob's personal direction and purpose of travel changed after his encounter with God at Bethel. So where is our Bethel? Where do we find holy and sacred? And will we take ourselves to it this week? Just a few thoughts on a favourite passage. Thank you for allowing me to share it with you this morning. I'll share another one with you tomorrow morning at the same time and in the same place. Hope you have a nice day in the meantime, and God bless you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.